Hello, this little video from the library will help you as you get started on your research. Your research requires you use peer-reviewed articles, but how do you know if you have one? These are some questions you can ask. Is there an abstract? Are the authors experts? Is the title long and complicated, and does the article have a lot of technical language? Are there references? Is it more than a couple pages long? And did you find it in one of the library databases and limit to peer-reviewed? Here's an example of an article to illustrate these points. First, we can see it is from a Loris library database. Second, this is a good example of one of those long, complicated titles. Next, you can see there is an abstract. You can also see that it is 7 pages long. And finally, there are 24 references. Once you determine that you have a scholarly article, you will have to decide if you have a primary research article or a secondary article. There are a couple things to look for. Primary source articles will refer to the current study or experiments. They will include a discussion of the methods, and that will often include mention of the participants being studied, and then they will have results. Secondary articles are typically reviews and tend to cover multiple studies. They often include the word review, and they typically provide a historical overview. Let us go back to our previous example. While it does not refer to the current study, like many similar articles do, it does talk about what is to be measured under the heading Objective. This is followed by a discussion of the design of the experiment and the participants in it. And finally, there is a results section. All this indicates this is a primary source article. Here's an example of a secondary article. This database actually identifies review articles, which are kinds of secondary sources. Next, you can see that the abstract clearly identifies this as a review article and discusses multiple studies. Finally, the conclusion focuses not on discussing results of an experiment, but on a call for future research. Now that you know what you're looking for, the next step is to find the articles. The best way to get started is to go to your research guide for this class. You can find that by clicking the Library Research Guide link next to the little puzzle piece icon on your course eLearn page. Alternatively, you can go to the library homepage at library.loris.edu and click on the Research Guides link. Enter the name of your course in the search box like this and click on the link for your course. The main tabs you will use on the guide are Find Articles and Citation Help. You will also need to complete the instruction activity. Remember as well that the librarians are here to help, and there are multiple ways to contact us. Once you click on the Find Articles tab, you will see a list of databases. These two will be the most helpful. It is important to remember that once you know how to use one database, you know how to use them all. They all work basically the same way. You enter keywords and then select certain options to limit your results. You all likely have used Academic Search Complete before, and the first database, Sport Discus, will look quite similar to that. With all our databases, once you click on the link, you will have to enter your login information. Next, you enter your keyword search terms. It is important to remember that there is some trial and error involved in finding search terms that will lead you to the most useful results. Also, if you're getting too many irrelevant results, one way to focus your search immediately is to change the drop-down menus from Anywhere to Abstract. You can see I received 44 results with the initial search. While this is manageable, I can still narrow it further using the options on the left. First, I could limit by publication date, either the last 5 or 10 years. Next, I can limit to academic journals so I can focus on scholarly articles. I could also choose some of the other options like language or subject if I had a lot of results that I needed to narrow down. As I scan through the results, I look for titles that appear relevant and click on the title to get more information. Next, I review the abstract and decide if the article is useful to my research. It is also helpful to note the subject terms that are included. These can give additional ideas for search terms. If I decide I want this article, I would look for the PDF, but this does not have one. I would then need to click on Check for Full Text, which will check to see if this article is in another of the library databases. It turns out it is not, but there is a link to request through Interlibrary Loan. Just click on that, indicate the date you need it by in the form that appears, and hit Send. This will create a request that we'll send to libraries throughout the country, and then when possible, they will send us a PDF of the article for you. It takes an average of 2 business days to receive something, so make sure you allow enough time. We advise you enter a date of at least a week later if you have no preference. When the article arrives, you will receive an email telling you how to access the article. In addition to Sport Discus, PubMed is another resource that will be quite useful for this assignment. This is a public database provided by the U.S. National Library of Medicine, rather than one we subscribe to, so there are a couple features that are a bit different. One of the main differences between this and other databases is that instead of multiple boxes to enter each of your search terms, you enter a search term and then click the Add button. Similar to what we've seen before, you can still narrow your search from anywhere to a particular part, like the abstract and title. Since memory loss is an issue with concussions, I'm going to change my search terms a bit and look for short-term memory and the hippocampus, the region of the brain associated with memory. Notice I use quotation marks around short-term memory, which indicates I want to search for that exact phrase, not just those words in any order. You can see I received 808 results, but that again I have options for limiting this. Some are similar to what we have seen before, like date, but notice I can also limit by type of article, like review article or clinical trial. Also, I have 2 options for full text, general and free. As you will soon see, PubMed doesn't really have its own content, but links to other websites, some of which will provide the articles for free and others not. Scrolling through the results, I noticed several of the studies were done on mice or rats. I can eliminate those by adding not mice, not rats to my search. Once I see an article that looks promising, I click the title. First, there is a link to the full text. We will look at that more in a minute. Second, notice the Cite button. This is common to most databases and can provide a helpful start to your citation, but because they are computer generated, you will always want to check them. Finally, I have a number of options that can lead me to additional articles that may be of use. Similar articles is self-explanatory. Cited by refers to articles that have cited the current article, so it would be newer research. And references refers to those articles this present article has cited, so previous studies. MESH, or medical subject heading terms, are the technical names for particular medical issues. They are hyperlinked subjects similar to what we saw in the Sport Discus example, and again can be helpful search terms. The link to the full text often takes you to a different website. Sometimes the PDF of the article is difficult to find here, so you'll need to look around a bit, but in this case it is obvious. Sometimes when you click the link, it takes you to a site that requires you to pay for the article. Remember, if an article is not free, interlibrary loan is an option. Simply copy the title of the article and open up a new tab to return the library homepage. Then click on the Interlibrary Loan tab and enter the title in the search box to see if the article is in one of our other databases. This one is not, but as you can see, I can easily request it. Finally, again remember, your Loras librarians are here to help. You can email us, chat, or make an appointment.